I'm
Good.
good. Feeling good?
Are you hearing
Are
me
you hearing
okay?
me okay? I got you okay, man. It's a slight delay, but we working out all right. But I'll go ahead and introduce this man so we're on page. Listen, we're in episode 14. Thank you guys for joining. Go get your friends, your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, your co-workers. Get them all. Bring them all in. Have them subscribe also. But come on, join in. We're talking about optimizing your health. You know what I mean? And optimizing your health is so important. By definition, in a nutshell, it's health optimization is the practice of looking at your health from a perspective of how can I make this even better, or what can I do to feel my best self, feel like my best self, have a great day, and have all of that working towards a healthier lifestyle, right? As compared to what do I need to do to fix me. George, man, he's a brilliant guy. This dude was pre-med, and he's gonna give us some good nuggets that I think we can all benefit from. George, jump on in there, man, and drop some nuggets on us.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
So real quick, just kind of a little background is similar to what Robbie has behind him is achieving savage will is all about tying the body, mind, and spirit together and getting all those moving in the right direction in order to achieve a collective goal. And when you kind of put all the forces at B and really focus them in the same direction, you can really achieve some very amazing results. And one of those things is optimizing your health and body. And one of the most simple ways you can do that is through a method called earthing or grounding. I always think it's funny because immediately the context goes to like tree huggers or the hippies or something like that. And well, maybe they got something right in the sense that being out in nature, being in the sun, getting a reasonable amount of sunlight and being in direct contact with the earth is beneficial for the body. It's funny how science works to where, we're now confirming what basically biblical principle and like creation principle has explained. And so one of those things is when you get in direct contact with the earth, and my engineering friends, my physics friends, like they'll understand this, is with electronics, you have to ground them or else you'll have a fire hazard. It's similar with a house. you know, in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, they didn't ground the outlets, like the electrical system of the house. And that was not previously grounded. It wasn't until about, I want to say maybe the 90s or early 2000s where that became a standard practice. You know, people grounded their homes to prevent fire hazards. And that would be from lightning striking, the electrical line outside, the power line. And then when that happens, there's really nowhere for that energy to go but the outlet in your home and or back to the substation. So it goes both ways. And then when it goes into the outlets in your home, it creates that spark. It's by the curtains. It's going to burn your house down, start a fire, that sort of thing. So that was actually a real problem until they started realizing that when you add like a metal rod into the ground, there's somewhere for that energy to go. And you're like, okay, George, grounding your home, I get it. What does that have anything to do with health and wellness? Well, similar to the house, we have a whole electrical system, and the entire body really operates off of electricity. The nervous system, the heart beats off an electrical impulse. The brain is highly electric. So really, it's addressing the electrical nature of the body. And when you do that, you realize that we ourselves have what's called oxidative stress, and the ground, the earth, like a natural surface, whether it's grass, sand at the beach, you're in the ocean, in the water, or just like you're walking in dirt, basically, um, like that offers a grounding, so to speak, for our electrical system. And what that really offers is a free source of like free donating electrons for my physics friends, for the chemistry friends. But long story short, you can ground your electrical system to the earth. The earth has a magnetic field, and when we're in contact with that, we experience health benefits. There's improvements in circulation. There's improvements in you know, dopamine balancing and serotonin balancing, and um, there's a lot of things that really benefit from being exposed to the ground. And one of the best ways to do that is while you sleep. There's a way you can do it just like your home is balanced and grounded from the inside through the outlets. You can do that as well. And it's just a very easy way to balance the body, to get back in touch with nature, to experience, there's improvements in circulation. There's improvements in inflammation. Inflammation is the cause of almost every disease, illness, ailment. Of course, we're going to die, but it's all about improving our time while we're here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you, Robbie. You have any questions or comments?
So it sounds like, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Great. So it sounds like when you're grounded, just in life, spiritually, emotionally, physically, what have you, you're stopping one part of your body from throwing the rest of your body into imbalance. So you can avoid, by getting grounded, you can avoid acute, chronic, even life-threatening illnesses, for a longer period of time, and or have the ability to fight against them should something come up on the inside of you. So this grounding then is almost imperative. Like when we were kids, it was more common to see children walking around barefooted. We loved to walk around barefooted. That was a common thing that we did, barefoot walking and that type of thing. And even now, just going out to the patio or when you walk into the mailbox, maybe being grounded by, or a type of grounding is just walking to the mailbox. If it's not a lot of glass or whatever else on the ground, that's a grounding, right? And I think there's some other relevance to it. It's kind of weird, but in these homemade remedies that we used to have years ago, if anyone caught flu or any other type of sickness or disease that came about, particularly with fevers and flu type symptoms, the elders in our families used to take a potato, which has that electrical energy in it, right? And cut about a ½ inch of potato and put it inside of socks reversed out, right? And put that in there, and we'd sleep through the night, and it would break that fever, man. It would break whatever that hold was on the body. This potato coming out of the earth has that same type of electrical energy. My understanding is that we have in our body, and so that's a type of grounding, but also there's a mental side of that grounding as well. George, talk to me about that, man.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is that it has applications on mind, body, and spirit. Like you mentioned, being physically grounded, being spiritually grounded in knowing who you are, knowing what your purpose is, knowing what your mission here is on earth. And that mental grounding is critical, like having good support around you, having people that reinforce your vision and your goals and your needs based on all things, like a collective approach to life, saying like, hey, this is my purpose. These are my morals. This is what my heart's drawn to. And this is what I want to design my body to complete this mission. And then these are the thoughts. These are the ideas. This is the plan, the mind, body, spirit that I'm going to put in action in place to help me achieve my goal. So there's the 3 levels that we can maintain that grounding is through the mind, body, and spirit. So the mind is going to look like this. It's going to be, where are my thoughts? Are they circulated around my vision and what my goals are? Or are they negative? Are they petty? Or is it focused on what I don't have? Is it focused on, they just have it so much better than me? Is it in the victim mentality? Or is it in no, I'm them achieving greatness is great because that makes me, that gives me the fire to go and pursue my greatness as well. And there's enough out there for everyone. It's that feast or famine mentality. The feast would be, no, there's plenty of money out there. There's plenty of, if you're in real estate, there's plenty of houses out there. Everyone's going to thrive and mine's going to come just like anyone else's is. And, when other people experience success, do you celebrate that? Or do you sit there and you're like, well, I should have that, and all these other, just non-productive lines of thought will pop in your mind. And that does no one any good. Basically, you're just reinforcing the reason why you shouldn't have what you don't have, I guess. And then the other thing is, okay, so is my body in line and balanced and grounded with what my desires are? Therefore, if I'm trying to get the most out of my mind, am I treating my body the same way? Am I exercising? Am I getting sunlight within a reasonable amount? Am I you know, working out, sleeping right, not abusing my body with substance, all these other things. And then again, the being physically grounded to the earth is also a benefit too. So there's just three different levels where you can really maintain that grounding and allow yourself to give you the best chance to succeed in whatever, your energy levels are optimized, and it's just really able to pinpoint your words, actions, thoughts, feelings all towards a desired goal and help you achieve that in a better way.
That's hot. That's really hot stuff that you're giving to us right now. I like where you're going with that mind, body, spirit, because we see that not only in scriptures, but we see people just talking about that in general, and we see that happening in sports arenas and just in life arenas, just like you said. What's interesting about it, especially in staying grounded, I guess if we were a better adept to de-stressing, right? Making sure that we have regular exercise, we have places where we can meditate on whatever we believe is going to help us de-stress. I like to de-stress with meditating on the word. I like to de-stress in listening to jazz. I like to de-stress with breathing techniques that help to reduce stress, right? And also getting a hobby, just getting something that I love to do, that is rewarding to my mind, my body, my soul. So one of my hobbies happens to be landscaping. So I love to landscape, right? So I'll get out. I can literally get out in the yard and landscape for hours at a time. What I don't do is I haven't taken my shoes off necessarily, because there are some little bugs and creatures in there I don't want to get a bite from. But nevertheless, just being out there in the sunlight, getting that natural vitamin D, being out there sweating, getting that stuff toxins out of my pores, and getting at the activity is pretty cool. And so not only is it a de-stressing activity, but also see in this grounding, putting away salt. Now I know it's interesting about salt, right? We have different parts of the country that are salt based. This is big, huge salt base underneath of it. And here's what's interesting. So we like salt. Many people like salt in their diet, but salt also has an ability to keep toxins at bay for long periods of time. So that's going to hurt us in the long run. So when we're getting grounded, just metaphysically, is getting rid of that salt also. What we do with nuclear waste, there are parts of the country, 4 or 5 major parts of the country that are very heavily salt based. And we take a lot of nuclear waste and all the kind of waste, and we put it in those salt beds. The idea is that it takes about 100 years for it to seep into our river streams or water streams. And so at that time, no one really cares, I guess, what the output's going to be, because it's 100 years down the line. A couple of generations have already passed by, and so there's no need to worry about what the effects are going to be. But salt keeps toxins in for long periods of time. So if we were to remove salt and replace it with a different type of imagination, with a different type of illustration, with being able to draw, paint, and do some other things in our lives, right, that detox us naturally, spiritually, emotionally. It could be, we could create another type of Picasso, another type of Rembrandt, another type of something new and different in our age, this age that we're living in right now, that won't keep toxins trapped on the inside of us, because we're listening to this grounding methodology that you're talking about. We're allowing for our bodies to detox, to put away stuff that holds toxins in, like salt, to get away from things that hold toxins in, like stress. So by de-stressing and by getting the salt out of our bodies, we're also grounding, getting outside, getting that vitamin D, getting that sweat out. It helps us to ground out. Am I tracking okay with this, or you hit me and tell me where we're missing on some of this stuff, man?
Yeah, it's basically all about mitigating stress, whether it's physical, mental, or um, so forth. Like, so you're physically grounded, you're taking care of that stress, you're sweating out, you're doing some activity, lifting, whether it's gardening, just like do something that's going to kind of push your body and allow it to, sweat, remove toxins, eliminate waste. And the heart of it is eliminating the obstacles that are keeping you at bay. And then you can do that on the mind, body, and spirit level as well. Like if it's a spiritual battle, then obviously you want to eliminate that barrier. Whether it's the physical, is eliminating the waste that's keeping your physical limits in place. And if it's the mental, it's restructuring your thought patterns and eliminating the obstacle of negative and limited behavior, like action and behavior, from limiting you to where you want to go and your goals.
Nice, man. I like what you're saying right now, George. So if I get this right, we can de-stress, we can put away the salt, we can ground out, but we should be in all of this process eliminating. So that's an imagination piece, right? We got to imagine our bodies, imagine our minds, imagine our soul and spirit in a better place, right? And what does that look like? And then eliminate everything else that disrupts, eliminate everything else that is and a contaminant to us getting to a better us, right? And so that's really, really cool stuff. So one of those things, George, I'm thinking that if we had a rhythm, right? Our bodies are based on rhythms and patterns also. And so if we had a rhythm is as easy as going to bed earlier, but going to bed every night at the same time, even on the weekends, right? So then we eliminate the obstacle of fluctuation, right? That can create a barrier to the amount of rest that we actually need to optimize our day, right? And then in that, then we can start imagining, going places, like going on a vacation, like as a goal, and working toward doing it, you know what I mean? And feeling that and sensing that and imagining that and determine what it's going to look like, determine what it's going to feel like, and determine how we want to weigh, how much we want to weigh, and what we want to eat to get there, and what we want to eat once we get there, and what it would look like, you know what I mean? And what kind of people we would meet, you know what I mean? And put a time and a date stamp on stuff like that. Then that would actually help us eliminate other obstacles, barriers that say we cannot, and start reducing that down to how we can do it, how we can make it happen, right? And so even like having a glass of wine, getting it back to the natural, having a glass of wine. Some people, red wine, drink a glass of red wine. It's really kind of great for you. It helps you to decompress. It gives you an opportunity to reflect on your day, right? And how to remove the stress that's robbing you of your best you, your better you, right? And then you can eliminate bad choices because it disrupts your rhythm, because you're making that time for this de-stressor. If it's this a glass of red wine as a de-stressor to decompress, and you're allowing that in, now you can reflect. Now you can pause, right, and bring to a halt some things that are going on in your life, right? Not taking yourself so seriously. You don't have to go back over the choices and commiserate over them, but then you can laugh at some of the choices that you made. You can look at, hey, it's been made, it's done, it's over, it brought me to this new place. I'm going to go to a better place, and then you just move on. But that grounding, it just stops, brings to a halt some of the madness that can actually come into your life, right?
Yeah. So, basically intention is what I think the biggest thing is. And what's going to happen with that is, as you put that intention and focus and those thoughts all into improving your life, you're going to, I believe the natural cycle will be, or the natural progression will be, to pursue optimization of the mind, optimization of the body, optimization of your thought patterns, optimization of your time. That's really important too. And when I picture it like this: if I right now was to go and do the same workout as a bodybuilder, like Ronnie Coleman or in his prime, or Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, like I go and, he's in mid stride, he's in the best shape ever. And me, not being accustomed to a bodybuilding style workout or all the heavy weight, and I was to go and do the same workout, I would die. I would not make it through the Arnold Schwarzenegger workout. And then the next day would be even worse. I would need to recover. I would need to do everything that I could possibly do to just like get out of bed, and that sort of thing is, when you practice these modalities, like it becomes easier and easier. And then the recovery process is shorter and shorter and shorter. So your energy and work output then continues to grow and become more. So like Arnold didn't get there overnight, you know, Grant Cardone didn't get there overnight. Whatever success guru didn't, Tony Robbins didn't get there overnight. Oprah didn't get there overnight. Whoever you're looking at didn't get there overnight. So it's all about intention. And then what can I do right here where I'm at? How can I improve? And what are the things I need to stop doing to take me where I say I want to go? Are my actions aligning with my words and my thoughts?
That's, man, I like that. So I make that. I bring it over. Hey Tammy, what's going on, Cuzzo? Good to see you guys in there joining us. You guys can chime in and give us a question along the way. But thanks for chiming in. But listen, I look at it, and especially since you put it in that context, because I'd written something down about that grounding. And in that grounding, I was looking at check your posture and your ergonomics, right? Stop spiritually slouching, right? Speak with someone about your being and your posture in your being, your state of who you are, right? If that requires that you get a counselor, if that requires that you get a mentor, which I think you should have, if that requires you have a significant other that's going to give you honest truth, you know what I mean, and give it to you and you can accept it without debate, then this will cause you to straighten up. This will cause you to ergonomically adjust yourself, right? And in doing so, your world will shift. You'll start to interpret your world without the stress, because ergonomically, if you're slouching, it's putting a stress on your body, putting a stress on your brain, on your imagination and everything else. But if your posture is right, just so many things, just natural things. If your posture was right, then your mindset would be stronger and you would be able to get more accomplished. You know what I mean? If you made a friend in your corrected posture and ergonomics, the posture of your mind, the posture of your hope, the posture of your imagination, the posture of your emotions, make a friend, right? Or call a friend from the past that you were friends with. Now you're calling them up to rekindle the friendship or just to have a conversation in that aspect, right? And then it'll cause for your mind, body, and your spirit man, your emotional man, to begin to heal itself. Then the body can in fact recover, and time will end up being its assistant instead of time being something that can create a trauma. Does that make sense? So even if you were doing something like your own mental crossword puzzle, right? You can cause yourself to get rid of the old words, right, that formed your older world, the old ways of thinking that formed the kind of wisdom that you thought was going to be necessary to carry you through life. The wisdom is necessary. That's in that intentionality that you were talking about. It is necessary, right? We need that intention, but we have to reassess our capabilities and we have to reassess our capacities, and then we have to grow from the wisdom, because we know wisdom brings us to a destination. It doesn't necessarily halt us, but what we have to do is gather greater wisdom. That's the crossword puzzle. We need to get deeper in that wisdom, and all I get understanding along with that, right? Ask for this wisdom so that we now, in the crossword puzzle of life, we can literally add new words. We can literally add new dimension. We can literally add new principles, right? So in doing a crossword puzzle, metaphysically open our world up to different thought processes. When we do the crossword puzzle of life, bring in other people that can help us get to the place we want to go. Open up our minds. Do some research, right? Build a hope puzzle and look at what that hope puzzle needs to look like for your life, for your new beginning, right? And these will create opportunities that mysteriously can help us find us, right? And it can bring on this courageous, it can bring on this powerful new us so that we can accomplish some greater things in our lives. Is that great?
Yeah, I love that. And just to hit back on it, I mean, your actions are going to ultimately dictate what happens. And sometimes our actions don't always correlate, um, with our thoughts and what we say we want. There's a kind of this oppositional force that goes against us sometimes. And I think when we put intention into something, we're gonna have faced obstacles. Like that's just part of it. It's almost like God or the universe, whatever you want to say, is saying, "Are you sure you want that?" you're saying this. Well, if you really want it, you're going to overcome this obstacle. It's kind of funny. It's like right when you say you're going to want something, all these distractions pop up. And then it's like, well, if you really want that, you're going to overcome the distraction, you're going to overcome the obstacle, and then to finally step into what you're looking for. And then that as you grow, as you develop your craft, like those obstacles, you'll be able to navigate around them more and more, and that resistance decreases. Like, so if my goal is to squat 500 pounds, like right now, I can't even get close. So, but as I grow and work over that obstacle, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and I get closer to my goal, to where one day when I'm squatting 500 pounds, it's not a shock as to why I'm squatting 500 pounds, because I spend 2 hours in the gym every day and working on my craft and growing. And then while your actions start to communicate what you truly desire, then you start to gain confidence in what you want. And then you believe it, the people around you believe it, and then people jump onto your vision and your goal too, and they want to encourage you and so forth. But ultimately, it all has to start with you. You have to have that vision. So you have to decide first, what do I want to do? And then come up with a plan. How am I going to get there? How I'm going to eliminate resistance? How is this going to happen? I have to make it happen. No one else is going to tell me how to do it if I don't ask the questions and do the work first. And then they have to believe you. And yeah, it's just, that's how things work. And people want to sit and make excuses as to why they're not where they feel like they deserve to be. And ultimately, they just haven't put in the work. It's a very simple equation. And sometimes it's a little frustrating, but sometimes it's just kind of funny because it's not clear.
Man, that's powerful. I call that part of this journey, just weigh in. Like every morning, every Monday morning, weigh in, see where you are, right? See what your weight looks like. See what your body type is at that particular time. If it's a daily journey or if it's a weekly journey, I recommend maybe weekly. But what it is just maintaining a healthy weight, right? And that weight is what you put on yourself, because we put stuff on our minds. That tension that you were talking about, sometimes we can put a tension overload on ourselves, and sometimes we're tracking to be this new person, but we might be tracking in the wrong location. We might be tracking in the wrong space. And so we keep beating ourselves up in that space, in that location, when it might be that it's time to move on and still achieve that goal, that objective, to get into that new space, right? And that's like lowering the risk for your heart disease, and that's like lowering your stroke and availability to certain types of cancers, because you're removing the tension. The tension is the weight. And you're introducing concentration on being your better self. You're introducing confirmation that you can, in fact, accomplish what it is you're trying to do. If I want to squat that 500 pounds, then I know I have to give myself additional resistance over time, proper nutrition over time, proper rest over time, proper data over time, proper posture over time, so that my confidence can grow, right? And then I can become more in tune and more aligned with my commitment. And then my communication, my feedback back to myself can become stronger, right? And that meter of my commitment, that meter of my confidence and my confirmation of my goal, that meter of my concentration on this, then reduces the impact of the tension. The tension is needed. Everything in this world has a tension to it, and tension is needed. Like you said, resistance is absolutely needed in order to help us grow. Without it, we absolutely cannot grow to our fullest potential. So we need to be able to weigh in. We need to be able to measure the tension that affects and impacts our lives, so that we can, in fact, accomplish the greater good, right? If the greater good in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So this thing is imperative that we push on. It's imperative that we understand the weights and the balances that we create for ourselves, because ultimately we are trying to ground out. And in grounding out, we want to and we will get to that place, that goal, that level of imagination, that place of illumination, as long as we don't give up to the pressure and the understanding of the tension. Tension is needed. George, jump in this thing, man.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the best things you can do is what you were getting at was have these progress points, these weigh-ins, these self-analyzation of, okay, it's been a little while since I've sat down and looked at myself in the mirror or had my one-on-one time with me that we talk about. Kind of reevaluate, what have I been doing? How have I been spending my time? Have I been journaling? Have I been writing down goals? Where are my thoughts at when I'm not super engaged with a specific task? So these progress points are really good. And to do that in the morning is very important. I think also, and before bed, those are the kind of the two times where you're sitting down, you're analyzing and planning out the day. You're in a state of like relaxation, so it's easier to think through your thoughts. And one of the best ways I do this in the morning is having a morning routine. And I know a lot of people's mornings look different, whether they have to go in early at work or so forth. But if you're able, I think the best thing you can do is to get outside during the 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. window. There's some science to that, but being in the sunlight, not only on your skin, but it's good for your eyes. So if you wear glasses or contacts, you should go outside with them, not in, or glasses off, and to get raw sunlight in your eyes. And the reason for this, kind of the science behind it, is there is about the ratios of wavelength coming from the sun. And specifically in the morning, you have more of the infrared, the red light, as with in the night, like with the sunset. That's why it's red. Therefore, that ratio of sunlight optimizes your circadian rhythm. It gets you in that rhythm. And then, because before we had lights and indoor, even candles, like people got up with the sun and then they went to bed with the sun. They didn't stay up super late after night, like after the sun went down, because their bodies were so accustomed. Like we are wired to go with the sun. It's just how it is. I don't know. I didn't make it like that. It's just what it is. And I know our world operates 24/7. So, Amazon, you can make an order at any point. You can watch Netflix and have artificial lighting in your home at any point. So I think it's one of the negative, effects of that is we're kind of running ourselves dry. We're expecting optimum function all day. And when no, we should be prioritizing our hours, blocking our day and saying, hey, I'm going to work around when the sun up, when the sun goes down. So optimally, if we lived in a perfect world, we'd be outside all the time. We live in a natural environment. We wouldn't have indoor lighting and that sort of thing, which, you kind of have to play the medium, because we live in the world we do, and lighting is prevalent everywhere we go. And, people function outside of the realm of when the sun comes up and when the sun goes down. So back to kind of that morning routine, this is the best way we can mitigate the negative effects of, operating outside of, normal business hours, you could say. So the best thing we can do is get up and at least 30 minutes, be outside. If you're a guy, take your shirt off. If you have an environment where you can wear no clothes, that's optimal, because we need sun in the areas where the sun don't shine. Because the sun don't shine there, we need to get some exposure. But that sort of thing is just really important at setting the rhythm of the day. When you're outside doing that, you can write your goals down. The light wakes you up. You're better, more refreshed for the day. And it just sets the stage on a health note, but also a mental note. It's all tied together. But I'm going to let you jump in on this one.
George, that's giant, man. Everything you said was giant. I love it. And it just tickled me. But those weigh-ins, right? Those progress points, what you're saying, to me, it makes dietary sense, right? It's like a dietary substitution of stuff that's going on in your life, like the progress points, the weigh-ins, making that time for yourself, which is really giant. And then going with the sun. So being a believer, I believe that if we wake up in that same time bucket that you're speaking about and go outside in that same time bucket early in the morning that you speak about, for me, making that dietary substitution of staying in the house to pray, then going outside to pray would be my adjustment as a believer. I go outside to pray and involve that sunlight, right? So it's no artificial light that's going on like that. I'm prioritizing the true light for my life. I'm adjusting to the sun and the sun, and then it's allowing for the rhythm of my day to get established appropriately, right? And so now I'm more inclined to remove things from my life, even in the meals of my life, removing sodas, right, and removing useless snacks and things of that nature that can affect my grounding, right? Swapping out white bread and white rice and crackers and stuff like that for more whole grains and things. So taking what I'm getting spiritually and breaking it down to what I'm putting in myself nutritionally, and then breaking that down to what I'm putting into myself design wise, so that I can go ahead and accomplish greater things, greater good for my life. So then it allows me to take the stairs instead of taking the elevator, right? The elevator being the artificial, the stairs being that part that gets the pump going in your heart, that gets your exercise enough, your lungs and your muscles, right? Especially your lower extremities, to get them moving, get the blood flowing properly. I can now take this and elevate this to my prayer, elevate it to my reading, elevate it to my writing, which you mentioned before, journaling. I can elevate this part of my life, and I can now start to attack those areas that have become sedentary, that are going to sleep, that are not giving me the optimal yield for my life. I need the optimal every day. And artificial light is not the answer. True light, true sunlight is the answer. And like you said, man, just being open. I like the way you put that. If I can take my shirt off or be nude, right, and out in the light, then I'm being transparent. So to me, when you said that, I looked at the transparency of living, and I take off all the garments that I clothe myself in that quote unquote makes me me. Now I take off all of this stuff that makes me, that can interrupt my filter with my creator. And if it interrupts my filter with my creator, then my creator, as it were, would have to go around all my blocks in order to get to me. But if I take off all of my blocks and allow for him true access, transparent access to the real me, not that he can't get there, but I'm just taking it off. Metaphysically, I'm just taking it all off. If I take those things off, then I have nothing between me and great light, nothing between me and good and clear communication, nothing between me and becoming the better self, because now I've taken it off. I saw the value of it. Now I can replace all the sugary overlay of my life, and I can bring in a tall glass of water to cleanse out all the impurities that have been laying dormant while I was in my fast overnight. I can put that water of life inside of it so it can now wash out these impurities, and I can start to see better in the sunlight that's available to me. George, hit us up, baby.
That is one of the best images that I've ever heard. Just being transparent with like natural law, natural order with God, bringing your, taking off your impurities, that whole transparency image. It's just a great picture of, because we have a nature that is, antithetical to the creative order. And so we have to remove the obstacles, whether it's in business, in your relationships, in whatever, in your spirit life. We have to remove from us what is, that antithetical obstacle to, in order align with, better align with the creative order, how things were intended. We have to work around the stimulation and the short term, satisfaction of, the high of life or whatever. It could be anything. It could be movies. It could be TV. It could be that immediate longing for success. And like we were saying earlier, is success doesn't happen overnight. Oprah didn't get where she was overnight. LeBron even didn't get to where he is overnight. He had to make it through being homeless, bouncing around from homes, not knowing his father, all these other things. Like, we just see where he's at now, or where he was when he got drafted. We weren't with him on all those sleepless nights, and wondering if he was going to get a meal and all these other things. Like, he had a very big struggle. Not only is yes, he's physically blessed, unlike anyone that's ever walked the planet, really. But we have to do the work. There's no way around it. And in order to build those patterns and those habits and just really gain self-control, we have to remove, like you're saying, the obstacles. And then we can do the work. Then we can create the pattern, or like the habits. Then we can get the books. We have to master the art of unlearning and then relearning. Then we can do the work of getting to where we want to go in life.
Wow. I call that a stretch munchable, right? And so I'm just introducing this stretch munchable because this stretch munchable, just like when we're working out, when we're training, we have to stretch those muscles, right? Just like we have to stretch our mind. We can stretch our mind with music, with high frequency or low frequency vibrations that disrupts the vibration that we're on. We can stretch our bodies and our minds and our capacity through hyperbaric chambers and cryotherapy. You know what I mean? We can stretch by relaxing certain muscle groups to avoid injuries, right? Staying limber and being able to move freely from one age to the next age, right? And understanding what limitations look like, and then what may appear to be a limitation might be a request for us to put in additional effort in a particular area. As you said, put your work in. Those favorite words of mine: put your work in, pay the man, get paid. Those are phrases that I live by. And so, but those are phrases that need continuous adjustment, because the old man at a certain age required this kind of effort, right? But the new man requires less of that kind of effort and more of another kind of effort. So the effort that was in the natural is not as important as the effort that's now in the spiritual, that's in the imagination, that's in those two higher senses, imagination and your spiritual man. That demand is much higher as you get older. When you're a lot younger, that demand for your five senses, your core five, those are extremely important. But we change. And as we change, we have got to make those adjustments so we can, in fact, stretch, right? Stretch our limitations, stretch those places of purpose, stretch those places that we've created, designed for ourselves, stretch so that those muscles can, in fact, grow. And all the limiting power and the limiting toxins, what we call oh man, I forgot the term, but lactic acid. Get that lactic acid out of the muscles that create the pain. But when we start to stretch and we start to rinse with the water, and we start to allow for our minds to see that greater possibility, we start taking the stairs to elevate and grow up and go up, then we start to see even greater possibilities. And then what used to be or felt like limitations, we can overcome them. I mean, the story about LeBron is amazing. You look at the story about any person that's hit a level of greatness. They have put in time. They have put in work. They have put in effort. They have failed multiple times. They have failed, some of them, to the place where people were trying to get rid of them because they didn't think they actually had the capacity. And then in stretching and then embracing this potentiality, they were able to get to a space that allowed for more growth in the mental and emotional and spiritual muscle, and they were able to overcome. Again, one of my favorite athletes is Steph Curry, because as people know in his story, they were getting ready to cut him. They were getting ready to cut him or trade him from the Golden State Warriors because he had ankle problems. And during the summer, stretching, during the summer, taking the stairs, during the summer, making some dietary changes, during the summer, doing some weigh-ins, he was able to reassess who he was. He was able to get with his trainer, his coach. He had to get with a trainer and a coach to help him get past the limiting part of his life. And getting past the limiting part of his life, now several years later, he is the three-point scoring king. He's doing amazing. He's literally, from the time he was about to get cut, he came back the next year, and over the next year or two, he changed the absolute game of basketball. So it lets us know that When we meet these traumas, we meet these tensions, we meet these obstacles, they might be a way, they might be the actual door leading us, if we stretch, leading us to greater potentiality, leading us to greater possibilities, but we've got to get some help to get there. And so that's what really this is all about, to get us unhinged, to get us untethered, to get us out of the place where we don't believe we can, into the place where we believe we can, changing the mind, stretching the mind. If that's going to require music, if that's going to require higher frequency listen tos, if that's going to require being dialed into Savage World 1111 for 11 minutes or hour and 11 minutes once a week, or then we grow to something greater, this is what it's going to require. Its whole goal is not to necessarily say something new or something that hasn't already been said, but it's to challenge you at the moment you dial in. You're at your 1111, that master number. You're at that place right then and there when you're waiting for that transformation. Like someone last week when they sent the email, they was like, this was right on time for my life. This is exactly what I need. And this is what this is all about. This may be for you today exactly what you need in order to help you press on and get past in your stretch. In your unwind. Wait a minute. If I stretch, this gives me more oxygen and allows for me to have more capacity to be able to do and receive and then achieve. So, man, this is giant stuff. George, this earthing, this grounding, this is hot, man. Hit this thing again.
Yeah, I would just say for anyone listening to this, I would just really challenge you to, if improving your health is something you want to do, then definitely look at the earthing and grounding. There's a great resource. The man that kind of is the pioneer right now, obviously this has been around forever, since the creation of the planet. And the main guy you can really look up and look to kind of get an understanding more of what earthing and grounding is, his name's Clint Ober. There's actually a documentary on YouTube as well called The Earthing Movie. It will give you a great picture of, what it is, how it works, and how you can utilize it to experience the benefits and optimize your health using the earthing strategy, using the earthing equipment. And then, like I said, there's a way to do it inside your home. If you have natural flooring, like the stained concrete, or some tiles actually allow you to ground as well. That works because it's natural material. One of the cool things in the book is actually there's this chart that they put up. And then, okay, so Clint Ober, they have a book as well that he wrote. It's called, I believe I'm blanking on the name right now, but if you look up Clint Ober Earthing book, it'll pop it right up. And one of the things in the book that it'll show is a direct correlation. Again, in science, correlation doesn't always prove causation. That means two things can be happening and they just trend in the same line. That doesn't necessarily mean that one causes the other. It's just an observation. So with that, there's a correlation that they show of, because I think it was from the 50s back, people wore leather shoes. And, those were the shoes that God gave Adam and Eve in the garden, if you want to follow the biblical account. But I believe the reason he did this was because leather is conductive. Leather is not going to insulate you from the earth. But now, since the 50s on to where we're at now, most people have transitioned to a rubber sole. And obviously, we know that rubber does not conduct electricity. Therefore, that blocks our contact from the earth. And so he overlays the amount of people transitioning, it's an upward line to rubber soled shoes. And the other line is the incidence of diabetes. And it's almost a 1-to-1 correlation. And in science, that is like generally, yes, you can go on and do more studies to prove the cause, but that's obviously a study over time that would be very hard to, okay, did this person have diabetes? When did they transition to from the leather to rubber? How does that play out in having children? Like all the passing along the genes, like that's very complex. So what it is just more of a hypothesis or a guess as to kind of what's caused all the health issues now that we see. I believe it's a collection of things. It's not just the grounding. It's not just being trapped in like an artificially lit room. Um, it's not just the diet. It's the mental, it's the physical, it's all of it. But I believe grounding does offer a very big substantial benefit, and being in contact with the ground. And the way you do that inside is what you can do is order. They have these mats you can order, and it plugs right into the wall. And the mat is made of a conductive material. Sometimes it's polyurethane. Sometimes it has a silver fiber weave, so it actually has like that metal weave into it. I have both. Um, and a lot of the products that are on Amazon work greatly. I would recommend buying Clint Ober's product. That way, it's not. Um, that way, it works. And therefore, so the way you do it inside, and you have to do a couple things, because if your home is older, that means your outlets aren't updated. So it does come with an outlet tester, and it's very simple. You plug it right into the outlet, and it shows you on the outlet tester what the response should be. So when you plug it in, it has these little lights that will show up if it's wired correctly and has the correct ground. It'll say, yeah, it's correct. And then so you just pop that in. It's going to show up on the lights whether or not it's wired correctly. Most houses now do have it wired correctly. And if you don't have a house that's updated in the wiring, then there's some other things you can do. But for most people, it's going to be wired correctly. When you test the outlet, it'll show up, hey, wired correctly. And then it comes with, so the mat has a cable attached to it, and then you plug it into the bottom prong, which is the circular one. You don't plug it in, it's like your mom told you, don't put the fork in the outlet, right? So you're not going to plug it into the top two pieces. You're going to plug it into the bottom one. So because that bottom prong didn't used to always be there. It used to just be the two pieces. And then what they did was they added that bottom prong because it's the ground outlet. It's the way electricity is going to dissipate if there is a surcharge, or a surge, in the electricity. So like I was saying, if you want to get a better understanding of the grounding, definitely check out that documentary on YouTube. I believe it's free. If not, it does come free with the purchase of Clint Ober's product. I do not receive royalty from selling Clint Ober's product. I'm just a huge fan. Maybe I should. I don't know. But the best way you can experience the benefits of grounding is just to simply, what it's going to be is this mat, or really it's just a sheet that you can lay under your top sheet that you cover the mattress with. So your bed doesn't look different. You can barely tell it's there. I got my dad on it and he loves it. One of the best things, that you can experience is I used to sunburn a lot. And then when I started this grounding, I no longer get peely. I no longer get, little, I used to get like little sores or like blisters on my skin from being in the sun too much. I've built that tolerance up. And then, so it's like you're taking in energy from the sun and your body doesn't know what to do with it. So it just stresses it out. But when you ground, you have that way to dissipate the electricity and all the damage that the sun can do, because you're not equipped to have that resistance. For you, Robbie, I'm sure it's a little different just because I don't have the melanin protecting that layer of skin like you do. But I believe there is some damage that the sun can cause for African Americans. But there's so many more benefits than just being able to tan and not experience damage from the sun. Like, it improves the circulation. And so you can experience that. The best way, in my opinion, is to do it while you sleep. You don't have to change your habits. You just buy a sheet, you put it under your top cover, and you just sleep. You just do that. And they also have pillowcases that you can use also. And then I also have a mat that I use while I'm at the computer that I can just pop my feet on. It's like the size of a bath mat, and so forth. So I try to stay grounded throughout the day. But the easiest way to do it is while you sleep. I promise you'll sleep better. And my dad, he loves the fact that he doesn't really get red from the sun anymore. He likes to work outside. Landscaping is basically his hobby as well. Um, and there's just always kind of something to do. He likes to fish, likes to be outside and enjoy those things. And with the grounding, it allows him to better do that. Not only is it experiencing the health improvements and the health benefits, the improvement in sleep, he has sleep apnea. So he has always kind of struggled with, he sleeps with a little mask. He says his, when he lays down, he's out. And that always hasn't been the case. So
Awesome. Man, that is just some great stuff. I love the science part. I love to hear the science part as well as how it's going to affect us in the natural as well as the spiritual. So get earthing or grounded, right? And there's some tools to help us get that earthing and that grounding, right? But also from a scriptural perspective, it talks about new wineskins. And so when we change our delivery, when we change our platform, then we're putting on these new wineskins, right? And that gives us the capacity to get grounded in a whole different new arena. Your dad being open to the science that you've been able to gather to make it relevant and relative to his lifestyle helps to ground him. And as a consequence of it, now he's experiencing some new and some awesome changes in his life. And he's barefooting, as it were, into the sunlight, as it were. And he's experiencing this rejuvenation of his life, right? And so sometimes we have to just disrupt some of the things that we're used to in practice, some of the things that we think about in practice. I remember some people back in the old times used to say, well, I didn't hear the preacher say it, and I didn't hear this person or that person say it, but it didn't disqualify the data. The data is real. The data is a scientific aspect of the data, there's a spiritual aspect to the data, and it's been quantified. It's been collected and it's producing information that can be helpful to us. So, and growing, being intellectual about it, and growing, being spiritual about it, and growing using our will, which is above our wisdom, it can transport us into a new environment altogether, a new way of thinking, a new way of practicing being a human being, and allows for us to go into realms that we heretofore just read about for other people and experience through their collective genius, what they've written down in books, for us to fantasize about until we're ready to get grounded, until we're ready to unearth from the muck and the mire that holds us back and holds us down, and be freed to walk above, as it were, the old ground that we should be elevating from into the new ground, into the new light, so we can experience more joy, so we can experience more peace, so we can experience more happiness, so we can experience more transparency and a less of a need to pretend to be who we are. This is rich content. This is rich data. I'm so grateful that you mentioned a lot of what you mentioned today about the blanket, about the plug, about the grounding, about the resource, the gentleman that actually came up with the technology for us to be able to benefit from. And I'm grateful that you're using and gave it to us as a great suggestion so that our lives can adjust to some of these things and bring us out of the lower frequency of yesterday and bring us into a higher frequency of today, so that we can avail ourselves to experience all that this new beginning of today has for us. The blessings are new each and every day in our lives. And because that blessing is new, because God has released this to us, now we can enjoy all the full benefits. It's a travesty not to be able to experience the full benefit of a day, being not only human, but also being the spiritual part. It's a travesty. It's almost tantamount to being what we term as a sin, or living beneath the mark, the goal of our lives, to come into a fresh new day with yesterday's problems. We need to leave those things alone. And so if we were grounded a little bit better, grounded in our understanding of who we are, where we come from, and what we're all about, and what we're intended to do, which is to be successful as human beings, and to be progenitors of faith, be progenitors of hope, and progenitors of love, and progenitors of accomplishment, then we can experience a greater day. We can have more of a smile on our face. We can have less sickness and disease in our lives, and we can transform, right? And so sometimes in that transformation, I picked up a nugget from what you were talking about, but I believe that sometimes in our transformation, we can get stuck on some stuff, and we're in transition. We're transitioning out of an old self package, out of an old avatar, as it were, and we're moving into something that's new, and to a new self and a new packaging, right? And so the war sometimes, if we're not understanding the grounding effect, the war is we are grounded in our old self, our old behavior, our old technology, but there's a demand for us to come into something new. And so I thank you for the natural part that you're talking about, the scientific base for what we're talking about. But we've got to go and grow also in that spiritual base, that intellectual base, man, until it gets to a place of emotion where the emotion is telling the will, hey, I dig this. And it's telling the will, hey, I'm the will over the wisdom. It's telling the will over the wisdom. This is the decision that I'm making for my life because I want better for my life. I want better for my family. I want better for everything that I impact in my world, my realm, right? And so it causes for this transformation to occur. It causes for us to begin to enjoy optimal health. It causes for us to rest and revive and regenerate so we can reproduce something greater for our lives. So George, I'm gonna do this, man. I'm gonna go give a real quick recap, and I'm gonna let you share some other nuggets, and then we're going to close this thing out. So just in our discussion today, we had 11 simple ways to improve our health, optimize our health. One was enjoy de-stressing, right? And that including getting a hobby, regular exercise, meditation, breathing techniques, different things that we can do to de-stress. Two, put away the salt. Because we know that salt, it preserves something, and we know that salt does hold in toxins. So with putting away the salt, we talked about imagination, using our imagination to illustrate and bring us into some new realms of living, right? Like we can be our own creative Picasso or Rembrandt. It doesn't have to be straight lines. It could be squiggly lines, and it doesn't have to be exacting. It just has to be new art for your discovery, for your walk. Then get to bed earlier, right? Eliminate the obstacles that creates the barriers in your life, and learn how to plan out of a rhythm. Getting to bed earlier at the same time, 7 days a week instead of just 5 days a week. Learn how to plan your vacation, work towards your goals, and getting to your vacation. Do it often, write it down, feel it, see what you want to weigh, imagine it, do the whole nine. And then number 4, have a glass of red wine every now and then. Just decompress. Get some stuff off your chest so you can reflect on your day, and don't let it rob you of your tomorrow, but reflect on your day. Laugh at some of the decisions that you made, but don't go reliving them and feeling all bad about it. Just move on. Intention and focus is the core right there. Intentionality to move to the next place. Number 5, get your posture and your ergonomics. Work on checking your posture and your ergonomics. Stop spiritually and emotionally slouching. You know what I mean? Speak with somebody about your posture. Get your mentor, your counselor, your significant other to give you truth, and you accept the truth without debate, so you can get your posture right so that your blood can flow like it needs to. Number 6, do a crossword puzzle. In other words, stop the old words and the old worlds and the old wisdom that no longer serves you in this present journey. Stop all of that. Do a crossword puzzle. Get some new words that'll open up your mind to new definitions and cause you to do some research so that you can see the opportunities of the mysterious coming alive on the inside of you, and be courageous and take those new opportunities that you're going to learn. Number 7, weigh in. We just looked at it metaphysically. We know it's a tension in life, and to maintain a healthy weight and to lower risk of heart disease and strokes and other types of cancers, we got to check in our way and check our concentration. What are we focusing on? Check our confirmation. What are we confirming in our lives? Check our confidence and our commitment to what our conversation about life is going to be, and see that it's again above the tension of conversation that we can always be attracted to. We're so attractive oftentimes to negative flow of conversation. And then number 8, make a dietary substitution. Man, we got to have progress points. We have to have weigh-ins. We have to have a time with us. We have to have time for the sun, the natural sun, and I injected. We should have time with the sun. I call him, he's Jesus, and have time with him, so we get away from artificial light and we start prioritizing true light, right? And adjust to the sun, adjust to the sun's rhythms. That was so powerful what you were talking about in that rhythm, George. And then number 9, take the stairs, right? Taking the stairs means pray, read, write. Take the stairs. Literally, when you're going from one place to another, stop the elevator business. Stop trying to rush there without the effort. Try to get there with the effort. Get the blood pumping and exercise your lungs and put your work in so you can work your lower extremities and bring everything up higher so you can benefit from them. Number 10, stretch. Stretch your muscles, stretch your mind, use music, use higher frequency vibrations, use hyperbaric chambers to get stuff out of your system, just it'll smash it out. Use cryotherapy to help heal things that are busted up inside of you, right? And it keeps you from, the stretching keeps you from avoiding or helps you to avoid injuries. It keeps you limber and keeps you moving freely at any age. And then finally, get that earthing or that grounding, new wineskins. Get grounded, man. Get barefoot. Get in that sunlight. Rejuvenate. Let the benefits of this talk right here and the science that George dropped on us, man, let this thing be a benefit to you right now. Let it change your life. Let it change your discovery, right? And let it be a tremendous impart, right? Use the spiritual side of your growth and your being. Right now, we're in more of a spiritual dimension than we ever wanted to think was possible. And so to neglect that is to neglect a huge part of who you are. And so invite that spiritual journey in. We're doing it even if we're not making the decision to. And so we can either let negative in or we can allow for the positive to flow like it needs to flow. And then finally, listen, do your best human being today. Be your best human being today. Optimize your health. Rest, revive, rejuvenate. Allow yourself the privilege and the time and the wonder to be a better you, to be a healthier you, to have fun with you, to talk to you in a wonderful way, in a way that says, I can be all things. So, George, wrap us up, baby, and take us home.
I love those notes. The way you put it together just makes it organized and clean and cut for people and even myself to just have a plan of action. And I think the biggest thing, I just challenge people to become a better version of themselves. And I just have found so much satisfaction and learned so much just about myself through doing those things. And it's like we were talking about in the previous episodes, is falling in love with the work, falling in love with the journey, and that sort of thing. So my goal for people is, I know this isn't gonna be for everyone, but if you sit there and focus and regroup and really focus on what you want, I think it'll lead you down a path of optimizing the body, mind, and spirit. And I don't know a better way to do that. So just wrapping that up, I would encourage people to get grounded. I would encourage people to get outside in the natural world. I know we live in a digital age, but the natural world is still beautiful. Like there's still so many cool things. I was talking about with a friend of just yesterday about, I couldn't imagine, we went out to the lake, we went and ate dinner outside. We were at this restaurant called the Boathouse. It was just being outside in the sun. We sat by the pool, all these other things. The world feels right when you're in like a natural environment. And I just can't stress it enough. I'm passionate about it and I love it. And I just want other people to experience that joy of, the creation that we're in. It's just really cool. I think sometimes we have to unplug and get out there and get grounded, so to speak, in more ways than one.
Man, this is great stuff. Hey, Dr. Shropshire, glad you chimed in. Cuzzos, all my cousins, and John Lloyd, all you guys, man, you guys can give us either a one-word comment on what you heard or a phrase that resonates real good with you guys. But listen, I wanted to just say this. In 2 weeks, on Savage Will 1111, we're going to have the privilege of having the Dr. Harvey Shropshire. He's going to come in for some Q&A, and his topic is going to be absolutely amazing, electrifying. It's a game changer for your life. And we're excited to have him coming in. And a couple weeks later, we're going to have another guest that's going to come in, and we're going to do some interviewing of some of these people that have literally impacted our lives. In fact, in their own form of grounding, and they have been able to dispense a level of truth and a type of sunlight that can help us all in our rejuvenation process in this advent of our lives. And so, George, thank you for the science, brother. Thank you for being a brainiac like you are. This dude he's got a good mind, man. You guys don't know. We got a nice team right here. And so, and thank Jeannie in the backdrop. Nobody can see her. She's back there helping produce a great work. And we're going to get better at what we do. Your impact, your influence, your comments are very important to us. And then your subscription to this podcast right here, Savage Will 1111. Go out to Spotify, go out to YouTube, get connected. We're going to get ready to start doing some little reels on Instagram, some good nuggets, some munchable nuggets that you can take with you throughout the week or throughout the day, because we're going to be injecting them on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays starting in August. So yeah, do this thing, man. Get ready for your life to be forever changed, for it to turn into something absolutely amazing. Unhinge, unwind, get untethered. This is Savage Will. This is what we're all about. This is the purpose of the Savage Will podcast, to get unhinged. There is a greatness. There is a better you that is wrestling, and it can't wait to get free. And it doesn't matter what your age is, what your occupation, or anything else. It has everything to do with there is a longing to get better and to be something amazing. You have the will to do it. Let's get out of this. George.
Love it. Love it. Savage
Will out.
Savage Will out.